604 10 conduit sleeves. Where customer needs to install sidewalks, driveways, or streets prior to the installation of underground service lateral conduits, customer shall first obtain approval from CPS Energy's customer service representative and then shall install conduit sleeves in accordance with 1 through 6 below. 1. Sleeves shall consist of a 6-inch Schedule 40 or Schedule 80 PVC conduit installed on spacers every 4 feet and staked down at every 5 to 7 feet. 1 sleeve is required for each underground service lateral conduit specified by CPS Energy to be installed within trench. 2. Sleeves shall have a minimum of 24 inches of cover on top of conduits in private properties and a minimum of 36 inches of cover in public right-of-way unless otherwise specified by CPS Energy. 3. Sleeves shall extend a minimum of 12 inches on each side of sidewalks, driveways, and parking lots, and a minimum of 24 inches if located under streets. Conduit sleeves shall be capped at each end with an approved PVC cap. Customer shall mark on the surface, the beginning and end of each sleeve location, with a stake, hub, pipe, or some other visible marker approved by CPS Energy. 4. Other utilities shall not be allowed in sleeves installed for CPS Energy. 5. Trench for conduit sleeves shall be backfilled with approved materials in accordance with CPS Energy specifications. Note: for other than residential driveways, trench and conduit sleeves shall be backfilled with flowable fill up to no less than 6 inches of pavement surface. 6. All sleeve routes and locations require CPS Energy approval and inspections prior to backfilling, refer to Article 604.12 and 604.13. Exception: sleeves installed under residential driveways. 604.11 Clearance from other buried utilities. Clearance of service conduits from other buried utilities shall be 12 inches minimum for commercial service installations, and for residential service installations random lay will be permissible. Depth of trench shall be coordinated with CPS Energy's customer service representative to assure minimum clearances are maintained. 604.12 CPS Energy inspections. The service trench and conduit installation must be inspected by a CPS Energy inspector prior to backfilling the trench. If flowable fill encasement is required, an inspection must be made before pouring the flowable fill and after flowable fill has been poured. City inspectors or other AHJ inspectors do not perform these inspections. To schedule an inspection, customer may contact the CPS Energy customer service representative or refer to helpful numbers listed on the inside front cover page. Note 1. Where communication utilities are approved to share trench with CPS Energy, a second inspection may be required where flowable fill is interrupted to install such utilities. Note 2. CPS Energy shall not accept nor take ownership of conduits until after service lateral has been installed. 604.13 Backfill provisions. Materials used to backfill a trench shall be clean and free of sharp objects. Customer shall be responsible for backfilling service lateral conduits in accordance with CPS Energy specifications. 605 Service lateral conductors. Service lateral conductors will be furnished and installed by CPS Energy. Service lateral conductors shall be continuous from the secondary spades of CPS Energy transformers to the metering or service equipment located at customer meter loop. CPS Energy will approve this location for termination of service lateral conductors and as the pod. 605 1 Load limitations. Overhead to underground service will be limited to demand loads not exceeding 300 kVA for 3-phase and 100 kVA for single-phase, 120/240 volt service. 605 2 Conductor sizes. CPS Energy will furnish and install a maximum of 2 500 kcm copper, 90 degrees Celsius conductors per phase for this type of service. 605 3 Termination of service lateral conductors, point of delivery. CPS Energy shall terminate the service lateral conductors onto properly sized and listed terminals or devices furnished by customer at one of the metering or service equipment locations outlined in A. Through, E. Below. A. Modular metering equipment. At the line side of customer furnished and installed modular metering equipment. Modular metering equipment shall be approved by CPS Energy as meeting CPS Energy standards and specifications. Customer shall coordinate the review and approval of modular metering equipment with the CPS Energy Customer Service Representative, refer to Section 1800. B. Independent main disconnecting device. At the line side of customer furnished and installed main service disconnecting means, device, where installed ahead of an auxiliary gutter supplying metering equipment. Customer's main disconnecting means shall be provided with lockable and sealable means. C. Step bus auxiliary gutter. Directly to bus within customer furnished and installed step bus auxiliary gutter meeting CPS Energy standards and specifications. Step bus auxiliary gutter shall be provided with lockable and sealable means for use by CPS Energy where installed ahead of CPS Energy metering equipment. Note: step bus auxiliary gutter is required any time service lateral conductors, or any one set of service entrance conductors exceeds single 500 kcm conductors or parallel 350 kcm conductors. D. Junction/pull box. Directly to customer's service entrance conductors within junction box which is required by CPS Energy ahead of an auxiliary wire gutter. The junction box shall be sized and installed in accordance with Figure 802 and shall be provided with lockable and sealable means for use by CPS Energy due to unmetered conductors. Junction box and auxiliary gutter shall be furnished and installed by customer. Exception: junction box is not required ahead of auxiliary wire gutters serving duplex installations where gutters have minimum dimensions of 16 inches, h, x 8 inches, d, x appropriate length required to extend under each meter socket. E. Self-contained meter socket or instrument transformer enclosure. For 1 meter installations, at the load side of an individual self-contained meter socket or at the load side of current transformers where required, refer to Section 1800. Note: CPS Energy shall first approve one of the above locations and shall designate location as the pod. 606 Service entrance conductors. Customer is responsible for furnishing and installing all service entrance conductors on the load side of the pod as outlined in Article 605(3)/606(1) size. Service entrance conductors shall have sufficient ampacity to carry the load as determined by the NEC and other applicable codes, and in no case, be smaller than number 8 AWG copper or number 6 AWG aluminum. Service entrance conductor sizes shall not exceed those specified by CPS Energy for meter sockets or other CPS Energy metering equipment, refer to Section 1800. 606(2) Identification. Customer shall clearly and permanently identify the grounded, neutral, conductor, S, of the service entrance conductors before CPS Energy connects the service lateral, refer to Section 400. 607 Metering. All metering equipment shall be installed on the exterior of building or structure at a location approved by the CPS Energy Customer Service Representative and in accordance with Section 1800. Customer shall provide CPS Energy an approved space on the building wall or structure for metering equipment, refer to Figures 601 and 602. Note: where space is not available on building wall, customer shall provide a suitable metering equipment rack separate from building, refer to definition of metering equipment rack and Figure 1820. Exception: CPS Energy will review proposed designs where special circumstances may require the use of meter rooms within the building for location of multiple metering equipment. Where CPS Energy approves such designs, customer shall be responsible for that portion of the service conduit, S, under the building or structure. Service conduits under the building or structure shall be installed as required to be considered outside of the building and shall terminate within 4 feet upon entering CPS Energy approved electric meter rooms. CPS Energy may require customer to install spare conduits and to locate meter rooms on exterior walls as close as possible to the transformer poles, Refer to definition of conductors considered outside of building. See the following figures in the specification manual. Figure 601 Underground Service, Single Meter, from Overhead Facilities. Figure 602 Underground Service, Multimeter, from Overhead Facilities. Figure 603 Rigid Conduit Bonding Underground Service from Overhead Facilities.